All right, let's talk about the IB Visual Arts Connections study. Now, I know it's a big part of your grade, and honestly, it can feel a little overwhelming. But don't you worry, in this explainer, we're going to demystify the whole thing. We'll give you a clear, step-by-step guide to create a study that doesn't just score well, but actually deepens your understanding of your own art.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by breaking down what the task is all about. Then we'll walk through how to build your study from the ground up, starting with your own art, linking it to others, digging into that cultural depth, and finally putting it all together into a killer submission. But before we get into any of that, let's focus on one single word. This verb right here, situate. This is the absolute core of what the examiners are looking for. It means you're not just comparing artwork side by side. Nope. You're placing your own creation right in the middle of this huge web of influences, histories, and your own personal experiences. If you can get your head around this one idea, you're already on the path to a top-tier study.
Okay, section 1, what exactly is this connection study? Let's deconstruct it so you know precisely what you're aiming for and, why it matters so much for your final grade.
First things first, let's talk numbers. This is not some small side project. The connection study is worth a massive 20% of your final grade. That is a huge chunk, which means giving this your full attention is, well, it's pretty non-negotiable if you're aiming for a good score. At its heart, the entire project really just boils down to these 3 steps. Think of it like a journey. First, you start with yourself, connecting your art to your own life. Then you reach outwards, building bridges to other artists. And finally, you dig deeper with some research to understand the whole cultural picture. You nail these 3 parts, and you are well on your way.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with you. This study is built on the foundation of your own creative work, and it all begins by making one very, very important choice. You have to select just one piece to be the star of the show, and the rule is strict. It has to be one of the 5 final completely finished artworks that you're submitting for your internal assessment. This piece is the anchor for everything else, so pick the one you're most proud of, the one you think has the most layers we can peel back.
And look, the IB guide is super clear about this. It tells you exactly where to begin, with you, your personal context. That's your identity, your culture, your experiences, your big ideas. That's the lens through which this whole study has to start.
So, to get the ball rolling, ask yourself questions just like this one, and then go dig into your visual arts journal. It's an absolute goldmine of evidence. Seriously, look for those notes, those sketches, those late-night reflections that show exactly how your life experiences directly influenced the concepts, the materials, and the final creation of your chosen artwork. Okay, so you've got your artwork firmly anchored in your personal story. Now it's time to reach out and make some connections. Now, the IB is very specific here, so listen up. You need to connect your piece to at least 2 other artworks. And, this is the important part, they must be by 2 different artists. This is to show that you've really explored a range of influences, not just, a single source of inspiration. I absolutely love this image from the IB guide because it perfectly captures the spirit of this task. Think of your investigation like an octopus. Your artwork is the head, and the connections are the tentacles, reaching out in all these different nonlinear directions. A connection doesn't have to be a straight line from point A to point B. It can be a surprising tangential link that you then justify. And these connections can be super varied. Maybe you were inspired by another artist's incredible brushwork. That's a technical link. Or perhaps your art explores a similar theme, like identity. Well, that's a conceptual connection. It could even be a shared visual style. The best studies, though, they don't just pick one, they weave together multiple types of connections to create a much richer analysis. And now we move into the part of the study that really shows off your research skills. This is where you go beyond just looking at the art and start investigating what it all means. Cultural significance is a really dynamic idea. It's not just about what an artwork meant on the day it was made. You need to investigate how its meaning has been interpreted by different audiences in different cultures and across different time periods. How has its significance shifted over the years? The IB guide actually gives us some helpful lenses to use. For example, aesthetic significance. That's all about the direct sensory impact of a piece. How does the use of color and form and space make us feel? What's our gut reaction to it? This is a fantastic way to analyze the power of an artwork beyond just its backstory. So you've done the thinking, the creating, and the researching.
Now it's time to curate all your findings into a polished, professional submission. Let's talk about the rules of the game. Here is your first hard limit. You get a maximum of 10 screens. That is it. Think of it like you're curating a tiny exhibition. Every single page needs to earn its place, so planning your layout and being really selective with your content is absolutely crucial. And here's your second hard limit, 2,500 words. This forces you to be concise and really impactful with your writing. This isn't the place for long, flowy essays. Think focused analysis, sharp annotations, and maybe some bullet points. This slide really gets to the heart of how you should approach this. It's a visual argument. Let your images do the heavy lifting. Your sketches, your photos, your artworks, that's your evidence. Your text is just there to support, to clarify, and to analyze what we're already seeing. You've got to show, not just tell. Finally, let's pull back the curtain on how this study is actually marked. Understanding the criteria is the key to knowing exactly where to focus your energy. And what do you know? The assessment criteria directly mirror those 3 core steps we've been talking about this whole time. Criterion A looks at the connection to your personal context. Criterion B assesses your connections to the other 2 artworks. And Criterion C evaluates your investigation of their cultural significance. Each part is worth the same, so you really can't afford to neglect any of them. So I'll leave you with this question. The connection study isn't just another hurdle to jump over. It's an incredible opportunity to deeply understand your own practice as an artist. So how are you going to use these 10 screens to situate your work, explore its influences, and ultimately tell its unique story? The canvas is all yours.